endless examples of God being active and working this app into being something so genuinely valuable and something that I'm genuinely passionate about.
Big questions in youth ministry. To have phones or to not have phones in youth ministry.
Taking a stance.
I mean, I always overlooked.
Every youth worker, that's my hot take, is that look inside yourself today. Are you missing policy on something? Social media is how can you really build a relationship on 1 hour a week?
All right, we're recording. That was so synced. That was insane. All right, so welcome to our very first 12 podcast. I'm your host, Edison, and I'm here with
Josh, the director.
He just doesn't want to share his last name for some reason. I wonder why.
Josh Woodcock. My name is Josh Woodcock. I work for One Hope Canada as the 12 director.
Sweet. Thank you. Thank you for sharing what you do and who you are. I am a support coordinator for 12 alongside with Josh, our director, and we work for 12. This podcast was specifically for helping kind of churches navigate theology around technology. So it's something that Josh has kind of discussed in his breakout session for the YWC conference. I kind of want to go into who we are. Josh, how did you get into this role? Who are you? What did you do before?
Getting into this role is a little bit of a testimony in itself. So I was, we're in New Brunswick now. I grew up in Ontario. I was born in Mississauga, but I was there with my wife in Ontario when we were dreaming about this impossible idea of we're going to move out east. So like we're talking about this impossible thing. My wife is a nurse, so and this is a few years ago. Nurses are in very, very short supply, so she can work anywhere because she is super highly needed across Canada. I was like finishing up my graduate degree, and I was just working part-time at Starbucks, and that's obviously not going to fly. Once I'm done, I don't want to just be working part-time at Starbucks. I want to work in my field. And I went to school. I went to Bible college specifically to be a youth pastor. So I thought I was going to be a lifetime youth pastor. That was what I assumed I was going to be. I did my undergrad in youth ministry, and then I got an offer to be a youth pastor. And I prayed about it and meditated on it, and I felt that the answer was no, I wasn't supposed to do that, which was a really confusing thing because I was so certain that's what I was supposed to do. But then why isn't it? Maybe it's just this one. Maybe it's just this church. But I felt so compelled to say no, so I had to say no. Got another offer to be a youth pastor. Again, felt the answer was supposed to be no. And at that point, it's like frustrating. It's just like, I know for sure that I'm supposed to be working with youth, but I get these offers, but then I feel really strongly that I shouldn't do it. So we're here. We're like, I'm working at Starbucks. I'm finishing my graduate degree. Melissa's looking for this house where we're gonna pretend to live in New Brunswick or Nova Scotia or wherever. And then I'm like, okay, well, I got to find my job. So I'm gonna go from provinces from left to right, starting in New Brunswick, and then going across Newfoundland and see what ministry jobs are available. So I search ministry jobs New Brunswick. And the first thing that comes up is the New Brunswick Bible Institute's ministry job board. I hit those keywords right on.
Wow.
So then the job board comes up, and I'm looking, and we're like half looking, obviously. Again, like it's not real. We're not actually going to move to New Brunswick. That's never going to happen. I look through it, and I find one job listing from a ministry called One Hope Canada, which I hadn't heard of before. And it's for digital discipleship director. And I'm starting to read it, and it's saying, you need to have a history in youth ministry, which I had, and I went to school specifically for. You should have a background in camp ministry, which I spent maybe 6 or 7 summers. Like every summer when I would finish in school, I'd go straight to camp. Finished last day of school, right to camp, go for spring, like the early training, and then help with retreats.
Yeah.
And then throughout the year, it was youth ministry on like Tuesday nights and then Sunday school on Sundays. So then I also had kids ministry. So all these things that they said, you need to have an intimate knowledge of these things. You should also have an intimate knowledge of digital ministry. And where I don't have like a degree in software engineering or something like that, or IT. We did run a purely digital ministry, my friends and I, where we played video games and we talked about Jesus and we live streamed it and we answered questions and whatnot. And that was really fun. So everything that they said that I needed had been something that I had intimate experience with throughout my life.
Wow.
And so all of these things, really, it felt like, oh, all these things were equipping me for this, which is pretty presumptuous and pretty bold to like be reading a job listing and be like, this was supposed to be what I'm like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And I apply and we start interviewing. They tell me that actually the New Brunswick Bible Institute was supposed to take that down because they had found someone like a month ago and they just hadn't taken it down. So because they hadn't taken it down, I found it. And then the person who was going to take the job ended up taking a different job. So he got 2 offers. He took the other one. So then it's, okay, we're actually interviewing again. And then it came to be that I interviewed and I ended up getting it. And it has been insane and incredible for the last 4 years, and a lot of learning and a lot of growing, but also endless examples of God being active and working and being present in this, and like the amount of conversations we've had and what we've been able to shape this app into being something so genuinely valuable and something that I'm genuinely passionate about has just been like unreal, and not something that I ever thought I was going to be doing. Again, I still say like I could end up still being a youth pastor eventually, but for now, this is what I'm doing.
Yes, like I definitely feel you in that one. When I came on to as well, having a conversation with Josh, and then I ended up going through the interview process, and it felt like I look at the descriptions of the job and I'm like, wow, like that's like everything that God has just like been building up over the years. Weirdly enough for me to be confident as well.
Yeah.
But I just felt like, okay, this is where God wants me to be.
It was like the reason why they said, okay, we're gonna hire you, this guy from Bible college who hasn't done anything with app development before, is that you get it. Like you have, because you've worked in all these, or you've at least volunteered in all these places and worked in some, like, you know, the struggles, you know, the pain points, you know what the youth pastors actually need, and you know what the camp directors are feeling and how much stress they are always in and how busy they always are and how few resources they always have. So like, because in the interview, they would start describing the app to me and I would finish their sentences. And they said, because I was doing that, because they were like, oh, you immediately get it. Like, you understand why this is so important. That's why they said that we should hire you. And again, it's like, I don't have the education, but the thing that the events throughout my life and the experiences that God has placed in my life to be able to do, he orchestrated this path that I was able to follow, and then eventually leaded somewhere that I had no idea I was going to be in. And so far has been very cool. And like, we've just been able to see God grow it in incredible ways, which is awesome.
I'd say very cool is an understatement. But we'll move on. So I kind of want to preface this. So Josh has been working on this breakout session for a while. He's been building this up of creating a theology around technology. And this breakout session talks to a youth worker about how to navigate that in this culture, in this climate, asking yourself the questions. And later on, we'll probably have a debate about a certain topic.
Okay.
So essentially just evaluating that tech. What are the pros and cons about that? And yeah, we'll just go from there. So my first thing I want to get into are phones. The big questions in youth ministry. To have phones or to not have phones in youth ministry. What do you think about that, Josh? Like, are you an advocate for that, or are you not an advocate for that?
Ooh, taking a stance.
Yeah.
The thing that I do when I do my breakout and I'm talking to these youth workers about developing a theology around technology, and we're talking about no matter what we're talking about, whether it's phones or projectors or whatever it is, it's always contextual. So in my breakout, I never give an answer. I never say, yes, you should use this or no.
I really thought I was going to get him.
Yeah, but the answer is contextual. And I think there are great opportunities for both. I think there's a big difference when you say phones. That's such a big thing. A phone does so much. So it's like, should you use phones because you're playing a game and you need to keep score and you don't have a calculator on you, so you should use your calculator app. Like, that's using your phone. I think that's fine. I don't know if anyone would have any objections to using that. Or you take that and then compare it to, instead of, talking to the kids, the youth leader's in the corner scrolling TikTok by himself and he's got headphones on. It's like, that's a very different use of phones. So what does that mean? What does using phones mean in your context? And I think you have to figure that out. I think you have to sit with your leaders and with maybe other stakeholders too. So like maybe even the youth, maybe the parents, maybe your senior pastor, maybe whoever it is. Get other voices on it and figure out, what does phone use look like? Because it could look like, yeah, we don't regulate that at all. They can kind of do whatever they want, and then we'll kind of rein them in when we need them. Or it could be, hey, we want this to look separate from the outside world. Don't bring your phone. I don't want it anywhere in the church on youth night. I don't want to see a phone. If I see a phone, I'm confiscating it. I'm locking it in a drawer. Like, what is your policy with phones is something you should find out, because it's contextual and it depends on your environment. It depends on what your kids are going through. It depends on how many of your students even have phones. Because there are youth pastors who have reached out to us about 12 and have said, hey, all my students, none of them have phones because their parents all decided together that they're not going to give them phones until they're, I want to say 18 or maybe it was 16, but none of them have phones. So how do we use the app? And I said, how do you use an app when no one has a phone? The answer is you don't.
Yeah. And
that's completely fine. Like if none of them have phones, then they can't use a phone app. So in that context, it makes sense that they're not going to be using it because they don't have a phone. It's not a valuable thing for them. It's not a good tool for them. So it's all contextual and something that you should be praying through and seeking wise counsel and involving other people in.
Do you remember, would you tell us like the 5 things to consider? Or like, was it 5 things? There were things to consider. Do you remember them?
No, I don't remember.
I'm quizzing you on your breakout session.
The five P's.
Yeah, the 5 P's, the one you created.
I don't remember what the 5 P's are.
I have them here. It's people, place, purpose, power, practice, and policy.
Yeah, the last one's the double.
The double. Could you talk a little bit more on either each one or something around those lines? Why did you choose the 5 P's? Why is it 5 and not 6?
Yeah, those are it should be 6, but the last 2 are so related that I gave them. You get a freebie 2 for 1. So yeah, we'll walk through them quickly. These are the things that you should be talking about essentially. So when you do get your people together and you're seeking wise counsel, you're praying through these things. These are the 5 kind of 6 things that you should be wrestling with. So the first one is people. People is who is involved in the conversation. Who do you have around you in this conversation? Also, who is this going to be used by? Who can't use it? If this is an accessibility thing, are you bringing this in so that someone who can't experience it as well as everyone else is able to experience it better? Or are you integrating something that is going to ostracize maybe someone who can't experience that as well? So you have to think about the people, who's using it, who will benefit from it, who might it be bad for. And yeah, think about the people. And I start with the people first because that's the easiest. You wouldn't want to go into anything else if you determine, this is actually going to mess up half the people. This is going to ruin the experience for half the people in the room. The second one is places, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what's the setting for you integrating something. So like I said, it's not good or bad or neutral. But depending on the setting, it could lean one way or another, depending on how you integrate it or use it. So how is that thing that you want to integrate different in the sanctuary versus maybe your youth lounge versus the gym versus outside versus on a Zoom call. So something that could be good in one of those spaces could be a distraction somewhere else. Having a big old speaker that plays a whole bunch of music in the gym or outside is sweet, but you wouldn't want it playing on Sunday morning in the sanctuary while someone's speaking.
Yes.
That's going to be a distraction. So just figuring out, okay, where is the best place for this? So you're looking at the people, you're saying who is going to benefit from this, and then you're saying, okay, where's the best place to implement this? And then you keep going down. Number 3 is
purpose.
Yeah, purpose. And that's self-explanatory. What's your goal? Is that, like I said earlier, is this genuinely going to bring someone closer to Christ? Are they going to build a deeper relationship with Christ? Are they going to gain some biblical literacy? Are they going to are they learning leadership skills? What's the purpose? What's your actual end goal? Or if you're being honest with yourself, if you're being genuine, are you just trying to find this flashy, cool thing that's going to bring kids in off the street and it's going to bring them in? But is that fleeting? Are you chasing something? Is that a bad thing even? So like your hands are offering a good question. Your gesture is offering a good question. Yeah. Is that a bad thing? Like having a pool table in our youth lounge when I was growing up was great. We played so many different games to kind of like leading up to when youth group would start when we'd show up early. But that's all, its whole purpose was just that. I didn't gain any Christian teaching from that, but it was a fun thing that brought us in. It's the same thing as when you're playing games in the gym, playing dodgeball. You know, there's no biblical like lesson being learned. Maybe
there's a devotional
mercy
somewhere in dodgeball.
Violence, mercy. There's some there. I mean, there's a youth pastor sermon and everything. you can pull it about anything, but it's not necessarily even a bad thing, but it just depends on the context, and it's what's the goal that you're trying to go for with your youth ministry, and for that tool.
This is the interesting one I'd like to kind of even talk about is power. Why is power there? Like that's it. I would have not put that as like your 5 things to consider.
Yeah.
Power. So why power?
Power, specifically, we're talking about the power dynamic and how if you're going to use this, how is that going to shift, if at all? Certain things you integrate, it might not. But if you bring in a megaphone, that's shifting a power dynamic. You're making yourself louder than everyone else. You're making yourself clearly the person who's in charge. If you hand off that microphone to someone else, now they have a voice. They are now influencing everyone else maybe at least in a little bit of a way. So you don't want to integrate something that is going to shift the power dynamic in a negative way, or is going to pull away from maybe someone who should be having the power. I think you wouldn't let anyone just go up and speak. Yeah. If you had some 14-year-old who just found Jesus the day before, are you going to let him preach the next week? I hope not. Even some students who've been there for their whole life, the answer is probably still like, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how is it shifting power if you're using a microphone versus not using a microphone? Does that put you on an immediate pedestal? Does that shift to like your value or importance or power? Who has the login if you're using social media, or if you're using, in our case, 12, who's an admin? Like you had to think about these things. Who has power to influence these decisions as well? All important things to consider in that conversation.
So good. And then practice and policy, we could just talk about briefly about that.
I don't want to talk about it briefly. Practice and policy is so important.
Tell us. Tell us why it's so important.
You get to the end of this conversation. You've gone through all these things. You're saying, yes, these are the people who it's going to benefit. We're going to use it in this place. It's going to be a benefit to us. The power dynamic is good. We know exactly how we're going to use it, all these things. Now, before you integrate it, you need to have practices and policies in place. You shouldn't just, let me be clear, not for everything.
Hot
okay.
Take.
If you're buying new dodgeballs for the gym, you don't need to write a new policy on we only use at least 50% recycled materials. Right? Like that's just like, that's maybe a personal thing. Like I'm not saying you need to go super granular, But if you are going to be doing something like phone use, and you're saying, okay, yes, we are going to use phones. It's going to be in this way. You've had this whole conversation. You need to write that down. And not only you need to write that down, you need to stick to it. And you need to maybe have everyone who was there sign it and agree to it and say, yeah, we're going to stick to this and we're going to enforce it. Because if you set out rules and you set out policies, but you also don't have a policy about what happens when someone breaks your policy, why do you have a policy? What's the point? Why are you going to write stuff down if you're not actually going to follow it? So you need to, once you're done having this conversation and you're like, yeah, this is going to be great. This is how we're going to use it. You need to make sure everyone's on the same page. The way you do that is you write a policy. It doesn't have to be long. It can be a paragraph, but you're establishing this as this is how we're going to do things because we have meditated on this. We've prayed over it. We've sought counsel and we've said, this is how this can be used poorly, or this is how someone could abuse this. And we don't want that. So we're going to axe that out and we're going to use this properly.
Yeah. Such good thoughts on the policy and practices. I mean, I always overlooked.
Most every youth worker. That's my hot take is that youth work. If you're listening to this and you're a youth worker, there's a good chance you don't have enough policy. And look inside yourself.
Boom.
Look inside yourself today. I'm talking to you. Look inside yourself today. Are you missing policy on something? Probably.
Ask yourself.
Ask yourself.
Do you have a policy?
On anything? Some don't. Unfortunately, there's some people who have come to the breakout session who I've talked to and said, we don't have any safety policy at all. We don't have anything for kids, like even just like in Canada, Plan to Protect is the safety standard. They're like, yeah, we don't even have that. Like we don't have any sort of rules around in-person ministry, let alone digital ministry, let alone like technology. So I would start with safety. If you don't have anything, start with safety, keeping kids safe in person, and then branch from there.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you don't have policy, you should work on that. It's a worthwhile investment that can save you a lot of trouble in the long run.
That's what we heard from Josh. Write your policies. Just write them down.
Yep.
All right. So we'll keep moving on. And we're going to talk. I kind of want to do a debate.
Okay.
And it has to be quick. I don't want to be too long.
Yeah.
And the debate is around the use of social media. And I want to say, I'm going to go be against this because this is going to allude to the next section, a topic I want to talk about, which is digital discipleship in 12 or whatever.
Yeah.
I want to be for social media. And I'd be saying, okay, we could just use social media as a tool to communicate to our students.
Okay.
And you'd be against that.
Yeah.
In terms of using 12 or maybe some other.
So that was going to be the first question I had. It was, how are we classifying social media? So for some people, social media is, can I be social and is there media? And that's the baseline. Like texting would technically be social media because I can be social and I can send pictures. Or are you talking about social media? Like some people also put YouTube. Even though it's not direct social, there is media, and I can be social with other people, maybe anonymously. So are we? How granular are we talking about? Like when I say traditional social media, Facebook, WhatsApp, Discord, Snapchat.
Yeah, let's say
traditional. What the stereotypical social media you would think of? Is 12 in that? In this debate?
Yes, 12 is in debate.
Okay.
Yes.
So just using social communication. Okay.
Pros. Easier to communicate.
We're just doing lightning round. It's just one sentence. Social media is a worse version of an in-person relationship.
Meeting students where they're at.
Oh, I guess I get to use whatever social media I want, so I can tons of evidence to show that it's bad for their mental health.
we
need to have not 12. If 12 is in the, like, it's done. It doesn't.
Yeah, I don't think 12 should be in there. So we'll just forget.
This gets a lot easier for me if I'm not counting 12.
Just forget 12. We didn't put that as a social media. Social media, which is not. I don't think so. Classified as
Depends
one.
who you're asking.
Yeah. Relationship building.
Endless evidence of people grooming children.
Visible to community. So sharing. Being able to share moments, share events. Yeah.
According to Meta's own research, over 3 million youth have received physical threats on social media.
Okay. All right. Well, you guys get...
Listen, you want to step into the ring with me? You want to step into the ring with me on social media? On the dangerous stuff? We built an app because of this. All right?
Okay. You guys get to decide. Get to decide who won that debate. All right. We're not going to be fighting over here. We're not going to have a 30-minute long debate about who won.
Let me pull up my research doc.
Yeah. Maybe if you want, if you actually want those research docs, maybe Josh could send you some things. I don't know.
There goes all our content. How are we supposed to film more podcasts?
That's true. I won't have a job, I guess.
You can definitely reach out to me if you want to talk about it, though.
Yes.
Anytime.
Feel free to reach out to Josh at any of the social media platforms.
No. Lower thirds on the screen right now with my email. Just my email.
Yeah, just he only answers through email, not any of the social media
You
platforms.
won't find me on Instagram or Facebook at this point, so.
Hey, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. All right. So let's talk about actual 12. So we talked about a little bit about that and why is it, we briefly said, is it a social media? Is it not? Some people could debate it over. What is 12 and what would you say is 12? 12 is now, and maybe even talking about the brief history where we're formerly known as FateSpark.
Mm-hmm.
It's so weird saying that now.
Yeah.
Because it's been like 4 months.
Yeah.
Now I know it's 12.
Yeah.
But I know some of our teams in One Hope Canada has accidentally said FateSpark sometimes.
Yeah, I've said it.
Yeah, and Josh has said it. I haven't said it, so I am still in the clear.
I had 3 years of saying FaceSpark. That's why.
I guess so. All right. You want to talk about it?
Yeah. So 12 is an alternative to traditional social media, as we've talked about. It is the safe and youth worker focused version of that. So we take all the best aspects that you would want from social media, like you said, like being able to share about events or share resources or have conversations, share pictures, but we make it safe for students and leaders and ministries to be using, and that's the big difference. That's the whole reason why we developed it, is that we felt our ministries didn't feel safe enough using social media, and we had essentially banned it to be able to use. So we decided we were going to make this ourselves because it's too important not to make. For 2 reasons. So there are 2 core pillars are safety, like excellent safety and effective discipleship. So the excellent safety comes from safeguards that we have in place. So for example, it's a closed community, so it's invite only. Invites, when you're added in, still have to be approved by an admin. So if some friend can't invite their other friend who doesn't actually belong there, or a parent can't just get in there, they still have to be approved by the admin and invited directly by them. All the content can be reported. Chats are moderated automatically. Profanity list for words that should never be used with youth. And then we have something called message of concern moderation, which is a tool that only we have, that we've built. So essentially, if someone is talking about something that would be concerning that you'd want to know about right away. So for example, they're talking about self-harm or abuse, or they're getting bullied, or maybe they're threatening someone else in the app, we won't block it because you want them to be able to tell you about abuse. You want them to tell you if they're feeling like they're thinking about self-harm, but you want to know right away. So we won't block it, but we will flag it, and we'll send admin some notification that says, hey, this is what they're talking about. You should probably check on this right now. So that does two things. It helps keep them protected right away, but it also makes it so that a youth pastor doesn't have to constantly be worrying, oh, should I be checking this all the time? Like, if I'm not on it, I'll miss something really important. You don't have to constantly be checking it at all hours of the day. We'll let you know. So again, built specifically knowing youth pastors, their resources, how bad pastors are with boundaries, and being able to help them with that.
Hot take.
That's not a hot take. There are so many books written about it. The most famous book is just called Boundaries in the church. So we have that uncompromising safety, and that's just a few of the safeguards. We have a lot more. And then the other one is discipleship. So the heart of the app is being able to build meaningful discipleship relationships with youth. And we go based on research, a bunch of research that a lot has come from Barna, some from Pew, the Pew Research Center, where they've talked about if you want to build a lasting disciple, a student who's going to actually stay in the church into adulthood, then they need to have good relationships. They need to be able to point to multiple leader relationships, and that's what's going to keep them in the church. There was a big study that was done here in Canada in 2012 that kind of reshaped our focus in youth ministry up here. It went from program to relationship. We still do program, but relationship is now the end goal. And the question is really, like you had talked about when you were saying your pros for social media, is how can you really build a relationship on 1 hour a week? Genuinely, how can you build a real genuine relationship? That's very hard to do. And if you're not there during the week when they need you, when someone asks them a question about their faith at school and they don't know how to answer, or they're having a question just about life, or they're going through a crisis and they can't reach you, it's hard to call that a genuine relationship when you can't be there for someone. You can really build a strong, lasting relationship if you are there. And when you're not there, there are a lot of students who are turning to the wrong places. So they're turning to the millions of different voices online who are saying a million different things. Very few of them are saying things that are biblical or point to God or are good, period. And if you can't be a voice during their week, then they're going to go to someone else. Or right now, even worse, arguably, is they just turn to AI and they ask whatever ChatGPT tells them is right. Therapy is the number one use of ChatGPT for a reason. It's because they feel they can get an unbiased response, and a genuine response. But yeah, how much of a failure is that for a youth pastor to, when someone has a theological question, that they're not turning to their pastor, they're turning to AI. And the biggest barrier is, can they even reach out to them? Like, can they even talk to them? Are they even there?
As accessible as AI.
Yeah, exactly. Right. AI is right there and it'll answer right away too. Yeah. So yeah, even removing that first barrier of being accessible. So we want to build lasting disciples. If a relationship with a leader, a real discipleship relationship is what keeps them in the church, then we need to be able to equip leaders to have a real discipleship relationship, and that means being there, and being able to respond, because all these other voices are available and all these other tools are available. So yeah,
so good. I mean, you answered a lot of the questions I was going to follow up in. So let's just move on.
Great.
That's awesome. Well, we have a few minutes left for this podcast. I do have some kind of culture questions, so outside of just 12.
Sure.
Thoughts on Australia banning social media
For under 16s.
for under 16?
Yeah.
Yes.
An amazing step forward. Like I was sharing some of the stats before. And that's, Meta's own leaked research obviously was a huge thing. The whole report in the Wall Street Journal that came out a few years ago that Meta knows that social media is bad for teens' mental health, and they chose not to report that. The
Wow, that's
number,
crazy.
the number of students in the Pew Research Center did interviewed youth and found out over 3 million youth had received physical threats. Over 3 million youth had received sexually explicit images they didn't ask for on social media. We're talking about teens. There are too many reasons for teens not to be on social media. I think it's a step in the right direction. And it came from Anxious Generation. Like that book really is shaping laws around the world, which is incredible.
That's insane. I've yet to read that.
Yeah. What's funny is the author actually in a newsletter recently that I subscribed to, this is Jonathan Haidt, the psychologist from the United States. He actually said in the book originally, I was going to suggest 18, not 16. But he was really hoping that lawmakers would take his book seriously and 18 wouldn't be digestible enough for them. It would be too big of a step to make it only adults. So he suggested 16 in hopes that it would make some change, and it's now making significant change. So I think he's right. I think if you had said 18, but generally based on his research, he feels that it's still not safe enough until you're 18, until you're an adult and you're able to make these kind of wiser decisions about how you use your time.
That's a crazy.
Yeah. Not to say an 18-year-old is the best, the best measurement for people who keep track of their time well and self-regulate. But
do you have any closing thoughts on anything we've talked about? Anything you want to share even more? If you could just give us like a good all ending of what 12 solves. I know we already talked about 12, but if you could just give that a little bit of an overview of what 12 is and what it's solving, that'd be great.
Yeah, I think it's good to wrestle with all of this, and we should be taking time to wrestle with the things that have so much of a hold on our lives. It's not uncommon for someone to have 7 hours of average screen time on just their phone during the day. And if they work on a computer and they watch TV, you've filled your whole day with exclusively screens, and that's not uncommon. So I think it's good to wrestle and have a firm both understanding and at least some level of a theology on the thing that you are essentially dedicating your life to. Like you are allowing to be a huge piece of your life, not even just as a youth worker in the youth ministry space, but personally. These should be things you know about and you are aware of. And do research on new technologies. Be a little bit skeptical. We don't have to meet everything with like an extreme skepticism just because it's a new thing, but I think we should be skeptical. I think smart glasses are really cool, but I think smart glasses with cameras on them are terrible. And if I was talking to someone who had smart glasses with camera on them, I wouldn't want to talk to them anymore.
Just walk away.
Yeah.
Just turn around.
And we don't need to get into it, but an article came out about where those videos are going within Meta, and you should check that out.
Link in the description.
Just Google Meta glasses Kenya, and you'll see where those videos are going and who has access to them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Be skeptical.
Know those things. Know that you should know these things. Same thing. Like it doesn't take buying new phones. We know what our phones are doing. And yeah, if you are a youth worker, break that stereotype. Break the stereotype of not wrestling with these things. Like be the youth worker who, when someone comes to you and says like, so what's your policy on this? You're like, here it is, print it out, collated in a binder, printed it at Staples, got a nice deal.
Who doesn't love a binder?
just break that stereotype. Like just think about these things and wrestle with them. That's the biggest thing. And I think if you are interested in trying 12 is donor funded. So that makes, we know that youth pastors don't have a lot of resources, so we make it as accessible as possible, and that we give it away for free. It's a premium app that is not free for us. It costs money to run and storage and operating costs and maintenance, but we give it away for free. So we look for donors who can support it. And if you would consider supporting us, that'd be awesome too. You can look at that. But if you're a youth worker and you want to try it, it's free. So try it out, see how it works for you. And feel free to reach out to either of us if you have more questions about it. Edison, his whole job is he can get you set up really, really well for your context specifically. If you have more questions about theology, this is my area of like passion in theology. So feel free to reach out. I have a degree that I would like to use in theology.
You are using it.
Yeah, I get to use it. So help justify my previous investments by emailing me your questions.
All right. That's it. Thank you for tuning in for 12 Podcast. This is our first iteration. I hope you liked the conversations that we had and everything that we talked about. I hope that gives you some things to think about, things to pray about. Just know that we're praying for the youth workers. We love you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.